What had moved her to say something so insensitive? She couldn't think of much else to talk about, however, so she ventured, "What do you most want to do when we get back to the capital, Master Jinchi?" "What do I want to do?" Jinchi pondered. He pondered so hard that he began to frown and tilt his head. Maomao really didn't think he needed to think about it that hard. "Do you really need to think about it that hard, sir?" Maomao could think of all kinds of things she wanted to do when they got back. She wanted to pick medicinal herbs, compound some medicines, and experiment with the effects of some new drugs. All kinds of things. It's just I'm sure there's a panoply of things I don't want to do waiting for me, and all I can seem to think of is how I'm going to deal with them. I do remember them saying something about there being a new potential consort. Who was she again? Gyukuo's adopted daughter. Maomao felt a bit bad for the girl now that Gyukuo, who had sent her to the rear palace, was dead. Empress Gyukuo has been dealing with that matter on my behalf. Bringing her around, I don't doubt. Bringing her around, sir. Didn't you know? Empress Gyukuo is famous, or perhaps I should say infamous, for her way with people. During her time in the rear palace, she practically redrew the power map among the emperor's women. Maomao thought back to her time inside the rear palace walls. Now that Jinchi mentioned it, she did recall Gyukuo frequently having tea with middle and lower consorts, drawing them into her faction. "I don't believe the empress's position is going to change," Jinchi said. Maomao had sent some letters while she was in the western capital, but she had naturally hesitated to send anything to such an august personage as the empress herself. She had no idea what Gyukuo's present situation was. "I'm told that both the young prince and the princess are doing very well," Jinchi said. "That's good to hear." Maomao was closer to the princess than she was to the young heir apparent. The inquisitive little girl must be getting big by now. "Would you like to pay them a visit when we get back?" "Could I?" "Empress Gyukuo has attempted to scout me several times already." "You know what? Forget I said anything." Jinchi replied immediately. Then he said, "What do I want to do? You know there is one thing." "What's that, sir?" Jinchi's hand brushed Maomao's, settling against it, emphasizing how much bigger his hand was than hers. "Is this what you wanted to do?" Maomao asked. "There are other things too." "Oh, is that so? But I can't." His eyes drifted down to the spewing figure on the deck. "I'm restraining myself as hard as I can. It's not easy." Maomao was by now well acquainted with Jinchi's feelings. She knew that he no longer had to pretend to be a eunuch. It made it slightly awkward to be perched up here so close to him, but at the same time it wasn't that unpleasant. "I know you have your circumstances, Miss Maomao. It's important not to get carried away by your emotions, but you can't let that be an excuse either." Why was it that she seemed to think of Chu's words whenever she was with Jinchi? What she felt for Jinchi was not, she suspected, a burning passion. She could not respond to him with the same feelings he brought to her. However, there were not many people in the world with whom she could feel this safe. She was starting to figure out what her own feelings were, and had begun to believe that she ought to accept them. It might have been nice if it hadn't been the clowning lady-in-waiting who'd given her that final push, but what could she do? "What am I going to do?" Maomao's hand still sat against Jinchi's. Nothing more had happened, which was fine by her. Now she wasn't sure when to pull her hand away. "Maomao," Jinchi said. "Yes, sir." At the same time she turned to look up into Jinchi's face, she found Jinchi's face coming down toward hers. The touch of his lips was so light and so casual that for a second she didn't know what had happened. At first he didn't say anything. "What, are you embarrassed?" she exclaimed when she realized he'd flushed red at even this most chaste of kisses. "No, I have restrained myself, and I meant to continue restraining myself." Before she could stop herself, Maomao exclaimed, "Restraint? You did not restrain yourself so much before." "I did not." Jinchi appeared to remember something, and he turned grim. Presumably he was thinking of before when he had forced a kiss on her, and she had turned the tables and given him a taste of his own medicine. "Do not worry, sir. I will not get you back for it this time." That is not what you would rather I did." Jinchi pursed his lips and looked at Maomao. "I rather thought you despised me." This time it was her turn not to say anything. Instead she glanced away from him. "I think I do not despise him, do I? If not, then of course she would not try to get him back." But even so she could not accept Chu's words so wholeheartedly as to actually say it at this moment. Well, what, sir? You know perfectly well. Please do not shout." "What if the freak strategist were to notice us? Do you want him to climb up here, retching as he goes?" "No, I do not." Jinchi went silent. Maomao also quietly looked down toward the deck, but she did not take her hand away. "There are a lot of people going back with us who were not here when we came out," she thought. For one thing, the freak strategist had not been on their ship. They also had several of the farming buddies Lahan's brother had recruited. Maomao sincerely felt for them. They had been done a bad turn. It was only then that she realized something. "You know, I do not see Lahan's brother anywhere," she said. "Lahan's brother, he should be here. All the people involved with farming were supposed to be on this ship," said Jinchi. Then Maomao thought back. Had she told Lahan's brother that they were returning to the central region? No, I got distracted watching Xiaohong stand up for herself and it pushed the subject completely out of my mind. It still did not make sense. Even if Maomao had forgotten to tell him, surely someone would have. Wait. Didn't he say a few days ago that he was going to check on the fields in the villages? Maomao asked. He must have come back. We checked off everyone on the ship's list of passengers. That's true, a good point. I'm sure we didn't leave him behind. But maybe we should check the list again just to be completely certain. Good idea. By the way, what is Lahan's brother's name? There was a long pause. Maomao felt her hands start to sweat, and her only consolation was that Jinchi's did too. Jinchi and Maomao looked at the land, now far in the distance. The ship would not be going back to port now. They heard gulls crying overhead. Maomao thought she saw faintly the image of Lahan's brother hovering in the air. Some time later they finally learned Lahan's brother's name, at the same time as they learned he wasn't on the ship with them. As for Lahan's brother, back in the western lands, he still hadn't noticed that he had been left behind.